How Toronto real estate prices are rapidly increasing. What should we do? Stay tuned for this week's episode of Prime Property. Promising, it'll be worth it. Good day, Toronto. Welcome to another episode of Prime Properties TV. So glad you could join me here today. Every week on Prime Properties TV, we take a closer look at the Toronto real estate topics and updates that matter the most to you. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about what you should be doing with rapidly rising real estate prices. So if you like this type of real estate content, make sure you help us spread the knowledge by smashing that like button and subscribing to the Prime Properties channel and sharing this video with whoever you think will benefit from it. Thanks. Every week I talk about real estate content that matters to you. And all of this real talk is because we want to be transparent and honest. And by doing this, we hope that when you're ready to make your real estate move, you'll think of us and you'll schedule a call to strategize your future, because it's a very important decision. Now on to this week's episode. With the rapid increase in prices, it really scares a lot of people who are aspiring homeowners, and most Canadians, I would say, do want to eventually own their home. So the question is, what should we be doing? The magic word when I speak to a lot of buyers, especially first-time home buyers, is compromise. Compromise, yeah. If we don't make compromises, we won't find the home you want. There's just like a really funny meme going around about how a first-time home buyer wants a 3-bedroom house along the subway in a good school district in Midtown Toronto around Eglinton and has a budget of $750,000. Totally possible, but only if you have a time machine for 10 plus years ago, right? While I don't think most Torontonians are that unrealistic, some can be. And this is why we talk about compromise. Make a small list of must-haves, and everything else is probably just going to be a nice to-have, because all of this really depends on pricing, right? An example is if your kids are about to start school like in JK or SK, we'll probably need to prioritize the school district because that's more important. But if you don't have kids, don't buy in an expensive school district. It's going to be that much more expensive, right? Another compromise is considering doing some rentals yourself to get the finishes you want, because the really pretty stuff that's ready to go tends to be the most expensive. Here's another one. If you need more workspace because everyone's working from home right now, instead of getting an extra bedroom for the office, consider a finished basement instead, right? Because it's less expensive. Or change the location altogether, because that will change the price the most. We have to pick and choose the battles, because unless we have an infinite amount of money, everything you want probably isn't possible. That's the unfortunate thing. That's why I say compromise. Now, another issue a lot of first-time home buyers are grappling with right now is getting priced out of the market. While you may think you want your first property to be a freehold home, it's not really realistic, and unless you make a lot of money or you have a lot of gifted money, right? But you should probably start with a condo and then move a little bit further out depending on your situation. The reason you need to make this compromise is because if you're in the real estate market, it's much easier to move up the real estate ladder than it is to stay at your parents', continue renting, and try to save up for that down payment and increase your rent just to qualify for that freehold. The real estate market moves much faster than you can save, even if you're in the highest tax bracket and you're making over $200,000. I've seen a lot of people get outpaced by the real estate market even at such high price incomes, right? It's easier to buy a condo and stay there for like 3 to 5 years and then move into a freehold, whether it's a town, a semi, or detached. The reason for this is because as the market moves, you're holding on to an asset that moves with the market, right? So if the average price increases 10% this year, you have something that has also gone with the market and increased 10% instead of needing to save faster and start eating more instant noodles instead of whatever, right? So moving into the market is better than trying to save up for what you ultimately want to buy. Here's another point that you may want to consider as well. If you qualify for your first home but don't have the 20% down payment, it actually makes sense for you to go with CMHC mortgage and less than 20% down. The reason for this is because the pace at which you can save your after-tax money to get the 20%, which the average price for a property right now is $1 million, is very challenging. It's easier to get to like $50,000 to 5% on $1 million than $200,000 and 20% of the million in savings, because you really have to ask yourself, how fast are you saving that $150,000 based on your lifestyle and income? This is especially true for those who are looking to buy something just under $1 million, right? You can still use 5% down at that price point. But once you go over $1 million, you have to have the 20% down. or basically $200,000 saved up or gifted to you. This means if the property you want is around like $950,000, there's a very, very good chance if you don't act soon, you're gonna be forced to get to $200,000 because you're over $1 million, which makes it that much harder, right? So obviously you have to do the math to make sure you can carry the property with a lower down payment. But these are other things to consider because there's that half breaking point that you can and cannot do because it's a hard, fast rule on the mortgage side. Now, the final thing I'll point out in this market about how prices are escalating so quickly is about home ownership being unattainable for a lot of people. There's this notion that it's being kind of taken away, our dreams are taken away from foreign buyers and foreign money that's buying up the real estate market. This is true in 2017, and I can attest to that, but it really isn't true in today's market except for pre-construction condos. There's no real way to track this, and even if the government says they can, I highly doubt it. If I buy a property, my legal name is still my Chinese name. Does that make me a foreign investor? No, I'm like super Canadian. I can barely speak Chinese. But on paper, I look like a foreign investor. Also, in speaking to a lot of buyers, clients, and prospective clients, anecdotal evidence tells me that most of them are Canadian and local or just recently immigrated here. While I do have clients who are from China and Hong Kong, because as a realtor, I fit that stereotype. Most of my not living here clients are looking at pre-construction only, or they do have dual citizenship from Hong Kong and Canada, because that's a thing, meaning they're Canadian. So most resale properties right now are locals, and that's what I see. And the last thing I'll share with you is this. It's the mentality of an immigrant, being one myself. When you save money and move your whole family and your life to a whole different country, especially Asians and Southeast Asians, the first thing they do is buy real estate because culturally it's ingrained at the back home that it's a good decision to control the roof over your head, right? It's also deemed as a good investment. And finally, the most important thing of all is people who are born here don't understand this. You can still buy real estate in Toronto, despite how unaffordable we all think it is. I agree, it is unaffordable. Where most immigrants coming from other major cities in Asia, such as Shanghai, Hong Kong, like Tokyo or Mumbai, the possibility of owning real estate is just a dream. I've spoken to lots of new citizens, and while Toronto is very expensive to buy real estate, it is by no means even close to the cities I mentioned from an affordability level relative to the income. Affordability is all relative, and this is before immigration ramps up in Canada like the way the government wants. So I hope this gives you some perspective and tips on what you can do with the rapidly rising real estate prices, because really you have to evaluate your circumstance to see if buying real estate even makes sense. If you need an objective opinion on the specific situation for you, you can book a call with me using the link here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. And hopefully this gives you some tips on how to navigate the real estate market with rapidly rising real estate prices. Until next time, your move, your future. See ya. Now that you're done watching this one, how about this one? Oh, you know what? This one's good too. Ooh, this one's really good. You know what? Just watch them both.